Talks about the importance of consumer engagement and why the
in Washington DC. I've written about harm reduction in vaping in particular for 15 years now, and in all that time I've never really had a chance to talk to public health professionals because they don't tend to want to talk to consumers, and that was part of what I said yesterday, is that consumers should be more involved in decisions about their health when it comes to tobacco and nicotine, basically because we're the most affected stakeholder when it comes to tobacco and nicotine. Or in fact, the vast majority of people who use vaping products or nicotine pouches or heated tobacco were former smokers, and we've all, people who advocate especially, have found that our lives were improved by these products, and we want to kind of preach that to other people who haven't yet switched to safer nicotine products. And in the future, hopefully many more will switch from combustible tobacco to safer products. But the problem we have is that public health is often in between smokers moving on to safer products. The WHO especially puts up all sorts of roadblocks to harm reduction. Next month they'll be holding their 10th Conference of the Parties meeting under the auspices of the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control Treaty. There'll be no consumers invited along to have a discussion, and it will all be behind closed doors where we can't have an impact on what they are deciding. And what they're trying to decide is very, very bad. It's that they're planning on banning vaping systems, they're planning on banning flavours, they want to redefine smoke to include vapour from vaping products and heated tobacco products, and they want to put more restrictions and bans on nicotine pouches, which is not even a tobacco product, and it's not not a product that's smoked. It's a smoke-free product which doesn't even include tobacco. So basically, what they propose at the meeting next month is to eradicate all safer nicotine products. So that's if everything went perfectly for them, that countries would ban all safer nicotine products, leaving combustible tobacco as the only legal product whereby you can get nicotine, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. The most lethal product containing nicotine is the one that will be the one that's let through with a pass, while everything else is banned or restricted. And consumers would like to have a say in that, but unfortunately we're not allowed a say, and they should listen to us, because often we have been the people who stopped poor regulations in the past. I'm from the United Kingdom, and our Department of Health is currently planning to give out 1 million vaping kits to people who smoke to help them switch to safer nicotine. But
Iberoamérica, which the members are consumer organizations in Latin America and Spain and Portugal. So basically what we did is that we run through the regulations of the countries to see which ones they were allowed to commercialize these products. We currently have 4. The countries that have banned these harm reduction products that we currently have 5, and the countries that currently have no regulation over these products that we have 2. We're looking to the Philippines a lot of inspiration and encouragement for these countries to follow the science, because we know for a fact, and pretty much the science has been settled since we have more than 110 entities related to research, ministries of health, governments. They have declared that these products are vastly safer than combustible tobacco. So that means that there's a huge potential for public health benefits that is already being
gap knowledge and harm reduction awareness policy regulation, which is a field in which a lot of work has to be done. The organization I work for, it's called Knowledge Action Change. We do a lot of work to raise awareness around the world about harm reduction. In particular, I go around the world running events and going to different countries that has different stages of development in terms of the regulatory situation of those safe nicotine products. And it's very refreshing to know that the Philippines is going in the right direction. I go around the world and I'm always talking about countries such as Sweden, UK, and the European Union, etc. But in Latin American countries and in African countries, for that matter as well, mostly low and middle income countries, they like to see themselves, they compare themselves with countries that are also in the same state of political and economic development. So for them it's much closer to, how can I put that? It's much easier for them to compare themselves with countries like the Philippines, and if the Philippines can do, they can also do, right? Because they usually compare themselves with richer countries, smaller countries, and they think, oh, those countries are so small, they have so much money, so they can do, because the population usually is very law-abiding, they do everything that the government says, and here in Latin America or in Africa, whatever country I am, they say, that's a very different matter, right? So it's very important that the Philippines is going in the right direction, because it shows them that it's just not a matter of having money, it's a matter of having will, right? If there is a will, there is a way forward. So I would like to congratulate the Philippines for the great work moving forward, and also would like to
in teaching students practicing medicine across in Portugal and in India, and also I'm the founder of a medically harm-reduced alternative group called SOMRA. It's called the Society of Medically Harm-Reduced Alternatives. And I like to go on to the medical side of things on the basic side. We have the regulatory, we have the advocacy part of it, but the medical side of it is something which is really important. What surprises me about the entire ban situation, or the entire shock that the entire world community has about safer alternatives, is that they're having two different sides of the same coin. Is because every year when we see drugs being introduced in the market, you have this entire pharmaceutical companies coming up with newer and newer drugs, whether it's for diabetes, whether it's for cardiology, whether it's for any other condition or thyroid. Every year there are new drugs being released in the market which undergo a certain approval process. And the reason these new drugs come into the market is because they have some element of safety over the drugs which were released a few previous years ago. Now, when you have a condition, or maybe you have an addiction called smoking, which is the most #1 preventable cause of death in the world, and you have something which is safer, research has shown it's safer. The United Kingdom government, the European Union, the United States of America, of course Philippines and so many other countries are leading the way in understanding and recognizing that there is a safer alternative to something which is killing people all over the world. But at the same time, there is a lot of other interests at play which does not allow these products to be regulated in certain countries. It doesn't allow these products to be brought up in those markets. And they try to make some kind of a misconception that these are more harmful, that these are bad for you, whereas research has proven across the world that it is 95 to 85% safer than conventional cigarettes. So when you look at it from a medical point of view, if my child was smoking, I would definitely, if I was not able to stop them from smoking, I would say, okay, choose something which is safer. As a parent, we owe that to our kids, that we provide them a safer alternative. And this is where electronic cigarettes come into play, because they have the potential to reduce deaths. I'm not saying that it's going to completely stop people from dying. People are going to be dying, people are going to be getting conditions which they don't want to get. But then that is the process of life. But we have an opportunity to provide a medically proven, safer alternative which has got documentary evidence behind it. And to that point, there are so many countries which have even banned research on paper. There's even it doesn't make sense. I mean, it goes against the policy of science. Science is meant to bring new things to the future. If you ban research on a particular product which has shown a positive effect over the one you're currently using, that means something is wrong with the system. And that needs to be challenged, that needs to be addressed, and that needs to be regulated. And that's the reason why we're all here. A big shout out to the entire Philippine community, a pretty big shout out to the Philippine government. You guys are really way ahead of most of us, and you have provided a safer alternative. Of course, the best would be to stop smoking, but because people can't, the best would be to give up coffee, but we can't. So things which are addictive usually take time. So that's where we are looking at it from a medical point of view, we are looking at it from an advocacy point of view. So our main job here is to support governments, is to help them understand that this is where we have a dialogue, not you just close the door. So a dialogue is what is more important to advocate. Thank you so much. There also has to be a democratic way to challenge this and have an open-minded discussion that we are medical professionals, we are advocacy professionals, we want to challenge this and have the door open. But when you criminalize everything and you say, if you do this, you're going to be arrested, if you do this, you're going to be arrested, or this is where you'll be having litigations against you, clearly creates a very hostile environment, not only for this research, but for any other kind of research. And that is the question which I keep asking myself all the time.
Without wanting to quit smoking. And that's a population that is not being touched or is not being targeted by nicotine patches or nicotine gums or I don't know, Chantix, is not being touched by them. And that is something that these harm reduction products actually can do, and that is being done. Actually, there's a study by Peter Hajek in the UK that is actually discussing already this, because it's such an interesting effect of something that have never happened before, and that is people quitting smoking without wanting to quit smoking. So that's an interesting point, and I think that it's pretty much a lot of your question, that when it comes to pleasure, that pleasure principle that we all have, right? Because we all want to have pleasure in different things.